Hello, I'm Lynn. Welcome to the Crone Zone. And so we reach card number 13. And of course, it just has to be the death card. Now, the number 13 holds no terrors for me. I think it's quite a lucky number. It's the number of lunations or moon cycles that we have in a year. It's also the number of menstrual cycles which a woman has in the year. And I associate it, therefore, with far more positive things than most people do. Now, when we come to the subject of death, and to this card in particular, it can really put the frighteners on people when they see it, because that old question, oh, am I going to die? Well, yes, you are. I am. Everyone is at some point. That's just a given when you're born. But I think people fear predictions of death and doom and gloom. And quite rightly so. And I think the sorts of people who have predicted these things, the old soothsayers of yore, have done a great disservice to the art of tarot. Death in our society is a taboo, but the death card isn't very rarely about the physical death. Rarely that. What it's really about is inevitable, inescapable change. And people like that almost as little as they like the idea of dying and death. So let's have another look at this card, a closer look at it. But before we do, we know the number 13 adds together to become 4. So we're with the Emperor energy. And you will also need from your deck the 4s from the minors, so of swords, pentacles, wands, cups. Those can come out as well because we will be factoring those in. And then, although it is not a number 4, before I wrap up this video, which is going to be a short one, by the way, I am going to make reference to the Fool. And it might help you to have the Fool card in front of you as well, just to observe some of the detail that I'll mention. Okay, thank you. Let's have a look now more closely at the Death card. The number 4 we discovered with the Emperor is all about structure and stability, essential foundations if we wish to create anything. We saw with the minor arcana how we can stabilise the mind through peace and meditation, the better to enable rational thought and wise decisions. We saw the fruit and joy of sharing the rewards of stability in the 4 of Wands, where we can take our joy out into the community and it's party time, as well as the potential dangers of becoming too fixed in our emotions and limiting our experience, potentially, as in the 4 of Cups, where we shut out new experience and just hunker down with what we have. With the 4 of Pentacles, we saw another potential, which was for overprotecting what we have, of fossilising ourselves a little bit in order to shore up everything around us and make sure that nothing ever changes and that we keep what we have. And in fact, in so doing, we limit our growth. So the message of the Death card is that everything has a duration. Great empires disappear under the sand. Dynasties fall, as do galaxies and stars. Nothing lasts forever. This is the message of the Death card. It doesn't mean that structure and stability aren't things to strive for. It just reminds us that processes have to renew. Now, nature shows us this very clearly. We have growth and beauty in the structures of flowers and trees and the natural world. But there comes a point of death, of change, and sweeping away with the seasons, which is really nothing more than a chance for renewal. So let's dive in and take a closer look at the card. Now, first of all, you can notice that there is as much white in this card as there is black. In fact, there is rather more white. In the horse, for instance, which is white, and the rose on the flag, which the figure carries. So we're looking there at this sort of yin-yang idea, this balance of things, this reconciling of duality, if you like. Now, it does appear that the Emperor has come a cropper and has gone under the hooves of Death's horse. But that's what emperors do, so the history books teach us. And the message here from the figures, the church figure, the maiden, is that whoever you are, whatever you achieve, you'll be subject to change. It doesn't matter what your status is, it's not going to protect you from the fact that changes will come. They will come and they are inescapable. And the little child shows us the best attitude to this, which is one of non-judgment. The child there is just accepting what's happening. Oh, this is the way it is. Change is coming. There doesn't appear to be any great fear in the child. He's just regarding the situation. And it's not by any means negative or solely negative. Change can be difficult, but there are lots of signs of hope and renewal in the card. The sun is setting, but we know that setting suns rise again the next morning in a new dawn. The river of life is flowing on in the background. And what's more, this death process, this change process, is being flagged up as an essential part of the Fool's experience. And there are clear links between the cards. For instance, the feathers, which are worn from the headwear of both figures, link back to the feather of truth that the heart is weighed against. We looked at that just recently with card 11, the justice card, this idea of Mayat and of justice and the weighing of the heart, the feather of truth. Now, the death card is keeping true to that. And then the white rose, which we saw in the Fool's hand. The white rose symbolised the Fool's innocent faith in truth. And the death card does not betray that truth. In fact, far from it, because the rose is the emblem on the flag that death is carrying. So what ideas does the death card spark when it appears in a reading and we see it? What kind of focuses can we be looking at? Well, it's signifying that something in our lives is ending, and it's not always a bad thing. It could be a period of trial and tribulation and hardship that is ending for you, in which case seeing the death card would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Because you think, oh, it's over, it's finished. It could be the end of a relationship, maybe an unhappy relationship, or the end of a phase in your life, the sort of thing like the menopause. It could be the death of an old identity you had, like you retire. You are no longer known as the person you were through your work identity. That has died, that has gone, that's changing. So it can often be about something that you are leaving behind, something that is being swept away and cleared out. You have no say in it. There's no stopping it. It is happening. And often, death is taking away things that, whether we know it or not, no longer serve us, and things which are impeding us and impeding our growth. And just as we've used that analogy of nature, in autumn, things die, they go back, composted back into the ground. And we can think then in that period of winter that it's a death. But there is a kind of magic happening in the dark underground. It's not dead at all, because come spring, everything is going to burst forth again. And so it is with the process of death and renewal in our lives. So doors close, but when a door closes, another one can open. Sometimes better things cannot come to you until the old is cleared out. So, often we'll look back in life and we'll think, oh, at the time that seemed so hard. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't want that change to happen. But now I look back and I think, well, thank goodness it did, because it's really been so much for the best in the long haul. And that will often be the case with the death card. Whereas the changes the Wheel of Fortune brings are impersonal, the changes that death brings have our name on them. They are changes that we are going through, that we cannot negotiate and we cannot stop. And of course, that can present as quite difficult for people. But the more we can accept and roll with the change, keep positive and go with it with faith and hope, the better for us. Because if we resist those inevitable changes which will aid our development, we try and keep ourselves in an unchanging state out of fear, what happens is we will keep going back to the hanged man experience. And we will keep having to experience those periods of sacrifice, of trial, of not knowing, of having to see things completely differently. So the answer is roll with it, go with it. Resistance is futile. Okay, I'll leave it there then and hope that's been useful and say goodbye.